what the heck was that?
That's what
You're talking about Genesis 6.
Genesis 6. And so
Bible man.
you want to read it?
Bible boy.
Read Genesis 6:4 for us.
Well, it turned right to Genesis 6.
That's perfect.
I'll read 1 through 4. The subscript is corruption of the human race. It says, then the people began to multiply on the earth, and daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw the beautiful women and took any that they wanted as their wives. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not put up with humans for such a long time, for they are only mortal flesh. In the future, their normal lifespan will be no more than 120 years. In those days, and for some time after, giant Nephilites lived on the earth. And for whenever the sons of God had intercourse with women, they gave birth to children who became the heroes and famous warriors of ancient times. And then right after that, it goes into the account of the flood and Noah.
It just kind of moves on.
Yeah, the Lord
no
sees,
more background that I would like for those guys.
Exactly.
The Lord he sees the extent of the human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everyone was evil, and then he decides to flood the earth.
So yeah, those things seem kind of epic and mysterious. What in the world just happened? What are those guys?
Well, it is a lot, and this is where we said buckle up, because there's been a lot of ink spilled about this. There's been a lot of podcasts, a lot of people talking about all kinds of ornate theologies and ideas. And we hope to, in this episode and in next episode, unpack that a little bit more because a lot of order has to be brought to it. And some of it, I think it's probably important now just to lay out a little bit of the groundwork of even what we're talking about. And so I think big picture, to remember that Hebrew is a very sparse language and the concepts and the way it's written is very, very, I guess the best word is sparse. Like, there's not a whole lot of detail they give. And in the Old Testament specifically, there are places that will mention something and then just move on and leave gaps. What we want to do in our day is we want to fill in all the gaps. We want to supply the previous story that sets up all that, when that's not the point of the story. It's not exhaustive. It's meant to inspire mystery. Paul says, I was caught up to third heaven. And what does he say? He's like, and I was not allowed to report back what I saw. Well, then why even mention it? What the heck's that all about? So he's got a gag order? I think the scriptures are genius in what they reveal, but also in what they conceal. And we've lost the art of concealing. We think everything's all about revealing, when I think we're losing the point on this. So that would be my general introduction to Genesis 6, is that we've turned it into a prequel. And we're like, man, let me give you the backstory on this.
Yeah. And so it's interesting, right? How you phrase that. I like that. It almost made me think of like a magician, where it's like a magician never reveals his secrets. Like when you enjoy magic, and it's like magic's more enjoyable before you actually know how it's done. Is that what
are you saying? The Bible's magic? That's what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is
thin ice here.
When
Harry Potter?
No, not that kind of magic, but
Dumbledore.
The whole idea of Dumbledore, yes.
Yeah.
So you think about now I've lost my train of thought totally. What am I trying to say?
But you're saying
no, I'm asking because you said, hey, we lost the art of concealing.
Yes.
And I think what I'm asking is, are you talking about like a magician when he's like, no. Like, let this stay concealed because that's part of like the mystery and the wonder and the awestruck? Or is there a different reason that Paul would say, I can't talk about this. This has to stay concealed?
It's the same reason when, Jesus, they're like, hey, so who will marry this person in heaven? And he goes, oh, well, they're like the angels in heaven. They're neither married or given in marriage. That's all he says, which really ticks off a lot of married people. They're like, wait, so I'm not going to be married to you anymore? What does that mean? But there's not an ounce extra on that topic. So the point being in all of that is that we don't just let it sit and appreciate it sitting. And maybe that's stuff we can't know. So I'm prefacing all this. We haven't even talked about it yet, but we should probably unpack it a little bit. Like when we talk about the Nephilites or the Nephilim, a lot of people have talked about it so far. So what have they said?
Yeah, I can lay out a couple of options because I find this stuff fascinating. I'm like really interested in it. And I think a lot of people are. It's like a pet project. I feel like there's people who know stuff about this chunk of verses that know nothing about Jesus. they're like obsessed with this stuff in the book of Enoch because it's like kind of connected.
Yeah. It's so much more interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think Jesus is more interesting, but
yeah.
I think some people. So I got some notes, some things to think about. There's a phrase in there, "sons of God," and that's like a Hebrew word, "b'nai Elohim," and we'll probably talk more about that in the next episode. But it shows up in other places in the Old Testament too, and it usually is in reference, almost always in reference to spiritual beings. So maybe you'd call them angels. And so there's angels or spiritual beings coming down to earth and taking human women as their wives. That's what's described as happening. And then at the end, in verse 4, you see there are Nephilim as well. In the NLT, actually, I would be interested with the NIV, how it translates it. But the NLT like made it very clear that like, oh, the children of this intermarried people group are the Nephilim. Yep. But I don't know if it's really that clear in other translations or in the Hebrew. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, what's verse 4 in the NIV?
When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and the daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them that they chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever. If they are mortal, their days will be 120 years."
Yeah, so maybe not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get the right one?
Verse 4.
You're like, everything you asked for
you gave
is
some
the opposite
extra
of what I just
preamble,
did.
and then you stopped right before what we wanted.
Thus endeth the word of the Lord. Okay, so the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went in to the daughters of humans, and they had children with them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown.
Yeah, so that's not as clear. It just says that the Nephilim were on the earth during the times and also after those times.
Yep.
So it's like, and it's like, are they connected, or are they just mentioning like, oh yeah, the Nephilim were around? I listened to Dr. Peter Gentry. He's like an Old Testament scholar, and his take is it's what they're actually saying is, although people believe that the Nephilim are the children of these marriages, he's saying Genesis 6 is telling us that they're not, because the Nephilim were around back then and they were around after.
Sure. So
they were giant people, and they have nothing to do with these marriages. But I think other people would disagree with that, and they would say that no, they clearly are, because these sons of God came down, intermarried with humans. You ended up with these hybrid, half man, half angel beings. And then other people throw all that stuff out the window. It has nothing to do with angels coming down. Sons of God are actually human beings, and it has to do with how they would translate the word. The word Nephal. Right. Because that is not a translated word. That's a word that's just like left for us. It's a Hebrew word that we just kept in the Bible as Nephilim.
Yeah, because we didn't know what to do with it.
Exactly.
Which I would agree with that. So again, just to summarize, you got Genesis chapter 6. There's these, tell me if I'm getting this right. You got these sons of God that went in and chose to have wives with just mortal women. And then it says the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. And Nephilim is plural. Nephal means to fall. So like the fallen ones. The fallen ones were on the earth in those days and in the days afterward. And so it's like these two parallel ideas. One, you have the sons of God went down and took wives of the people on this earth. And then there were the fallen ones that were on this earth. So it really is, the most accurate reading would be the fallen ones. It wouldn't be the giants. Why we tend to read giants into that is because when the Septuagint, when they were doing their translation of it, they understood to say the fallen ones, they took it of men of renown was equivalent to like their Gilgamesh or their Hercules. The Greek idea of men of old, men of renown, the fallen ones, those who are dead, those who fell in battle, the heroic ones of years past. So they introduced gigantes, which means like giants, which made us all go, well, wait a second. And then again, I think it was in Numbers 13 where they talk about giants. They interpreted that the Nephilim as gigantes again. So, but the most accurate reading would be the fallen ones. So it's really interesting, and this is I think is going to set up next time. Is what are we talking about here? Are we talking about giants that now have a backstory in the book of Enoch, or in the 5 books that come from that tradition? Or are we talking about people from a long time ago that were very heroic in battle, that have fallen since, they are like the band of brothers. You know what I mean? They're like from the Second World War, the veteran combat, hardened combat, but now they've fallen and they are heroes from of old. Like it's a big gap. You're not really sure.
You're saying that they've fallen, you say died?
Yeah.
And came back?
Well, no. They've fallen. And then now because of them having this like heroic stature, what's attributed to them is that, so this city came up from that particular hero, that city came up from that. And so these men of renown have places associated with them that are like, okay, well, yeah, I see that. We remember the sacrifice of this particular person. They were just so heroic in battle. But they're fallen. They're dead. They're remembered.
So that would almost not be referring to bigger creatures walking around. This is more, it's referring to the remembrance of people that were really significant.
Do you see the link though? So the people, when they were translating it, they were like, oh, all those old people that like started cities and they were heroic and men of old, they were giants. And so that's why they interpreted it giants in the Septuagint.
Can I push back on it though? Because I think this will set us up for next episode.
Yeah.
If you're talking to someone like Dr. Michael Heiser, he would look at that and he would say, you got to read this the way that an ancient Hebrew would read it.
Yep.
And in Second Temple Judaism, the prominent interpretation would have been what the Book of Enoch says, which is that fallen ones are fallen angels, and their children are like some hybrid spiritual being, and that's a big deal because it unfurls into the whole spiritual realm.
Yep.
And he would always say, like, if there's something weird in the Bible, then it's something important. And there's only 4 verses on it because it was part of a larger background that other people would have been familiar with. And so that's kind of the way he thinks about it. And it actually is the reason for the flood. And it ties to a bunch of other things, like why are there giants later on in the Bible? Because of these verses.
And real quick, you referenced Book of Enoch.
Oh yeah.
So what's that? Is it part of the Bible, not part of the Bible?
Good. Yeah,
make sure we catch like, I have not read the Book of Enoch. So why do people read it? And why is it not in the Bible?
Well, it's a Second Temple Jewish writing. It was written around like 200 BC, as far as we know. And it's, John mentioned this earlier, I think. It's sort of like, gives you a background on the Genesis 6 story. What some people would say, though, is that the knowledge, the oral history from that book was already known even when Genesis 6 was compiled. But it gets filled out.
Who wrote it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's pseudepigraphal, meaning it's not Enoch who wrote it, but it's the story of Enoch. There's also like 3 parts to the Book of Enoch, and then there's 2 more books of Enoch, and they're written in the ADs, so they're separate, different than the first Book of Enoch.
Yeah,
it's not in the Bible because mainly because of the author and also the late write date. Okay. I think those are some of the main reasons.
Yeah. And so people are using it as extra biblical references to say, hey, could this inform us more on what's going on in Genesis 6?
Correct. It's quoted in the New Testament, so they were aware of it. Whether or not that means they thought it was authoritative or not is what people debate.
Right.
So,
and the time in which it's written, if you're talking 200 BC, and the time in which the tradition comes down from Moses, I mean, you're talking huge amounts of time. So the equivalent for me, at least, and we're going to talk about this more next time, but it's like saying, well, we're going to understand the Gospels better by reading the Gospel of Thomas. And it's like, why? Gospel of Thomas is a forgery. We know that it wasn't written by Thomas. And Enoch, it wasn't written by Enoch. Why are we listening to this?
Except that the Gospel of Thomas isn't quoted by Jude and Peter.
Yes.
Right. So that's where folklore. That's where I get caught up. Is
that's
like
folklore, right?
Is Jude saying, because he seems to be supporting what the Book of Enoch says about these angels in Genesis 6, because he's supporting that, does that mean he believed the Nephilim were definitely children of angels?
So I'm gonna pause there because it's gonna get so good next episode.